Right. Welcome to this first non-keynote session here in the Audimax. I'm Nico, but that's really not important. We're here to listen to Christian from the CAP team to talk about what's new and hot in the CAP tools area. I'm very much looking forward to the talk, and please give Christian a big round of applause, and let's go.
Hello, everyone. So, same year, same procedure like every year. Big old tool session. So let's see what we have for you. First of all, because we always forget showing that QR code. So if you want to do that before, just keep a photograph and then give feedback afterwards. And I'll also try to not forget to show it afterwards. So that's my only slide, because as usual it's all demo. Talk about upgrade, testing, adding things, and some other goodies. All right, so first of all, let's see if I find my IDE, is upgrade. Upgrade is a topic for everyone, as it seems. So we had conducted quite some customer interviews and talked to various people about, okay, what's your upgrade experience, especially major versions, right? So, and is it easy, is it hard? And guess what they say, what you have maybe said, it's bumpy. And that's why we thought, okay, we need to improve here. And hopefully we did. So that's the release notes of this major release, CDS 10. And what we basically added for the upgrade experience is two things. Better migration guides that lead you through in detail what has changed. You might have seen that, right? You just find them here in a separate document, migrating to CDS 10, and we just lead you through not only how can you detect if you're affected, but also the context. What is it all about? How do you need to change code, etc. But of course, that's a bit tedious, and no one reads the fine manual, as we've learned. So that's why we thought we should also automate things as much as we can, and we try to. And there's a new tool called CDS Upgrade. You get it by just installing latest CDSDK globally, right? So you need to be for the tooling on CDS 10 to get that CDS Upgrade call. Otherwise, things won't work. But let's now see that in action. I've prepared the Extravels application that we've just seen with an old version, so to say, CDS 9. And let's see what CDS Upgrade gives us. Is it big enough? Yes, it's big enough. First of all, you see, so we are taking care for bumping versions. That might sound silly, I know, but this is, believe it or not, an issue for customers, especially if it comes to inter-version dependencies. If I need to bump that version, then I need to also bump that version, and people forget to do that, and then get strange NPM errors and inconsistencies, and we get tickets. That's the usual flow. That's why we thought, okay, let's try to improve here, and you see that, okay, CDS, SAP CDS, from 9 to 10, and SQLite, don't forget it, from 2 to 3, right? This is one of these little things that if you forget it, you get strange errors. Okay, we just can bump that for you, and we can also install the dependencies for you and bump your log file. Package log is another unknown beast in the world, and that's why we also bump that if it's available. And then what we do down here, saying, doing code analysis with some simple patterns, giving you a clue of whether you are affected at all. And we see we have two matches here. Take a quick look here. Okay, see this entities. Not sure what that is all about. And we have another travels text thing. So if you are not sure and at that point want to know what this is all about, you can just click the link, and we will lead you into the migration guide at the correct location and tell you about that, whether, again, the patterns that we run, and then also that's probably then the most important information if you really want to follow along. Okay, that seems to be no longer function, but just a property, right? And the text thing here is no longer available, no longer exposed through entities, but you just get the base entity, and then there's a .text property on it, right? So it's subtle, right? But it could break potentially your code. That's why it's probably good that we point you to that. So you would then basically either manually fix that or use AI, right? And I've done that, I think yesterday. And my only prompt here was upgrade this CAP project to CDS10. So that was the only prompt I did yesterday. But what you see in here, it also has found an upgrade skill that gives the agent or the AI the rest of the context, yeah? And it does all the necessary things. It basically runs CDS upgrade that spits out some meta information for the AI, structured information, so to say, on what check has run and what the context was, etc. And with that, it basically was able to catch the exact same findings and then also, yeah, do breaking changes. Is that visible? Yes. And then it basically gave me a report at the end. Okay, we've updated these dependencies, and in these 2 lines, we basically fixed that call and just removed the texting because it wasn't used. Otherwise, it would have just changed accordingly, right? So this is, I think, quite a nice and reassuring thing at the end. Admittedly, that's a simple example, but we want to build on top of that and improve that over time, right? So that's the whole procedure for Node.js projects. Let me quickly show that for Java. By the way, who's using Java, CAP Java heavily? Okay, so quite some, so it's worthwhile showing that. Because in Java, going back to the migration guide for a moment, scrolling at the top, we also have like a dedicated section, as there has always been down in the Java section, Java migration guide, and the more prominent thing is the open rewrite recipes. Okay, so that is the deterministic way of adjusting Java code. They can not only detect it more precisely, but also change code. And what I've prepared that project here. And for now, you still need to basically copy out that prompt. Here, we will just repackage that in a later version into CDS upgrade. For now, you just copy it, and I executed that, and you see it basically runs the whole, the usual Maven machinery, and at the very end, it will not only hopefully, but very deterministically transform our configuration, bump the version, and also transform the Java code. That's, yeah, and it has done so. Let's do a quick git diff, and you see, yes, it has obviously bumped version, it has done some whatever Maven POM changes, and then it has really changed Java code, right? And at the end, it even has rewritten configuration. So quite a nice thing. The Java guys put a lot of effort in that. So if you're on the Java track, that's for you, I think. Yeah, and then from then on, in the next years, we will just basically build out on that approach. A CDS upgrade is way to go here. Alrighty, so let me see on my list what I have. So, okay, debugging. Let's do a quick debug. We added CDS debug for Kima. It's just a little thing, but I wanted to give that still a round of attention. CDS debug is maybe something you know, and you can just debug the application locally, which basically means put the application in debug mode locally. And if you give that the remote name of the application, in that case it's that name, it will basically go out to previously only CF and put it in debug mode, and now it will detect it's a Kima project or a Kubernetes project, and will do the very same thing for Kima. That's quite flashy, quite magic, right? It really just pulls up the Chrome DevTools and connects to the port that we've just opened, and we then just can set breakpoints here. And then, yeah, we just need to find the application, of course, to do the requests. And let's see. Is it here? Yeah, right. So it just like works out of the box. So that's quite cool. You always are sure that you have the correct version of the source code because it just comes from the application. So that's just a little thing, closing gaps with Schema, because this is also like an important platform for us. All right, that's schema debugging. What else do we have? Testing. Yeah, testing. Who is using CDS test? Okay, quite like maybe half of you. Cool. Switching to a correct branch. Yeah, installing. No, already there. So CDS test is these things, just for the ones who don't know. That's this little API, right? CDS test, that will basically give out some HTTP client to you, and also spawns up the server automatically as in this before starting the actual test, right? And up to now, we had, of course, as test runners, good old Jest, yeah. That is still there, it's still supported, but we see it's not greatly maintained. Yeah, it's not only dated, but I think we came to the conclusion it's now a time to basically no longer recommend that as a good or preferred test runner, but to have something else. And that something else is, of course, the built-in Node test runner that has been there for quite a while. So if you need like a very slim, very minimal, I would say, test runner for maybe a small set of tests, a small project, that's a great thing. The only thing, it's a bit chatty. The test report is not the greatest, which is why for quite a while we added a little wrapper around it. It's not a new test runner. It's just Node test runner with a different reporter. Okay, just giving you a nice clean output. So that was there. I think we presented that last recap already. I doubt to the new kid on the block, which is vtest. Increasingly popular, especially around the front-end community, like Vue, React, etc., because it's built on Vite, but also now also usable for Node.js development. Let me put that a bit more nicely. And what it basically does, it also gives you that very clean output, and it immediately starts in watch mode. So no longer like just -- watch, whatever. No, it's already in debug mode, and you just need to change your test code, and it will rerun the test, etc. Right? So that's the normal loop. What you can also do, as just a little goodie, it has a UI. So if I do vtest UI, then it will spawn up a dashboard automatically. You don't need to do anything for it. And that gives you the list of all your tests, allows you to maybe sort them by like slowest first, show you which files have been skipped and like which are slow and which have failed, whatever, right? So quite a nice thing, and you can then just go through the test files, look at the code, look at the report if it has failed, see the console, so the console output matching to that test, go back to VS Code if you want to, just click on it and you are back to VS Code. So quite a nice little goodie. So in case you're not really like into any of the test runners in VS Code or IntelliJ or whatever, that might be an option. I just wanted to mention that. And yeah, vtest now really is I think the way for like the preferred runner as we think for like bigger tests, right? If you need the whole test enchilada or a scope enchilada of like coverage and mocking and snapshot testing, vtest has it all, right? Basically similar to Jest, and they also claim to be compatible, quote unquote, to some degree with Jest. So that's, I think, a good drop-in replacement. And the news from our side is basically that we support vtest through CDS test. So that's one part. And we will also then transfer our own test base, which is quite a lot, as you can imagine, to vtest in the next months. To get away from Jest. Also, Jest and ESM, right, are really a pain. So if you're thinking about migrating over your project to ESM layouts, please no longer try using Jest. That doesn't work. And also, like TypeScript configuration with Jest is pain. That's why yeah, move over. The other thing that we did, you might have not seen what defaults is. Before that, it was called Axios. And even, AI know what it was, it remembers. So that was like the API before, binding us, so to say, in view to Axios. And we got rid of that. I think Daniel mentioned that in the keynote. So we no longer need to have Axios in there. If it's there, if you require it, we still use it. If not, we use node fetch under the hood. And because of that, we just removed that Axios library, or that Axios, deprecated that Axios thingy, and just called it defaults, and that gives you basically access to the most prominent configuration variables, like for authorizations and validate status, the typical thing. So that is then agnostic, your test code is more portable. Again, if you still are bound to Axios, use it. If you need fancy things like interceptors and what Axios has, that's probably not coming to node fetch anytime soon, then use it. But in the light of reducing attack surface, reducing dependencies, I think removing Axios is probably a good idea. Alrighty, that was testing. So cleaned up test, vtest support. And speaking of vtest, that's the next thing. There's not only vtest, but also vit. You might have heard about that. That's a little, not a little, but like a dev server that is most prominently used in the front-end community, like web developers. Let's see what we have here. So I'm just creating a Bookshop UI project, just Node.js project with sample content, nothing really spectacular. But we also have now, let's first install dependencies. We have CDS add support for Vue in React. That just like we added it a couple of months back, but has fallen through the cracks. We're not really promoted it, but I wanted to use the opportunity here. So you can basically initialize a Vue project called catalog into your project. So we're adding that as usual. And what you will find here is that catalog application. It's a typical Vue application. So if you're familiar with Vue, you know what I mean. You can also use React. So then just use add React, and that thing here will do a similar thing, so to say. And yeah, that gives you just like a Vue application. Now, the normal thing to start would be, okay, CDS watch on one side and then Vite on the other side. And then they need to magically connect to, and we already added some configuration for it so that the things know that the application usually runs on 4004. But that can be easier if we now just use CDS watch. Guess what? We use Vite under the hood. We run Vite under the hood. You get that catalog endpoint, and here's your Vue application, right? Just out of nothing, basically. Thank you. Kudos to the colleagues who have built that. And to prove that, I just want to show the nice round trips that they have, right? Because it's so cool, basically, to watch. Let's say we want to have whatever stock. Probably not buy, but like in stock, you save it and see how fast that is on the other side, right? It's not even the old-fashioned live reloading the whole page. It's very clever hot code replacement, very fancy technology going under the hood. You know that probably from front-end development, but for us back-end Node.js developers, that's always quite cool to watch that such things are possible. Right, so that's dev experience with vtest, again available for Vue and React. And we also have made sure, you might have spotted that we also have decent build integration. So we are zipping, as part of the vtest build, zipping the whole thing in such a way, basically in a zip file, that the BTP deployment to HTML5 repository in app frontend finds it, right? So the natural thing you would now do, I'm not doing that for time reasons, is do CDS add whatever MTA, and then app front end, and then you would do CDS up, right? And it will work. So that's the idea, right? We also have documentation for that. What I've just shown you under develop, and serving UIs, obviously, and then Vue.js or React UIs. That basically just describes what I've just shown to you. Okay. Yeah. So quite a nice thing. Next up is Data Inspector. Another little cool thing. Let's stay in that application here. And coming back maybe to the that's the release notes again. New database inspector. You might wonder what that thing is all about. It looks nice, but what is it really good for? Let's find it out. We still do not scroll correctly here. So there's like a team that really took great care of bringing that to you. But instead of just like talking about it, let me show that. I just installed that plugin, right? So plug and play. Plug and pray. No, plug and pray. CDS watch. That's the only thing I do. And you see already some database inspector thingy going on. Let's see. And we get a new endpoint, database inspector. Okay. What that UI gives you, it's okay. It says data source is database, and these things are familiar. These are the entities, basically the tables that are deployed to the database. And you can just like click on one of them. You see the meta information, like which fields, which columns there are. You can maybe select all of them, and then you see the data. That's basically what it does in essence. Right? It gives you the ability to introspect your data, both on the database level, that's what that entry here is for, but also on the service level. If you switch, and now you no longer see your database column table, so to say, but you see the service surface, right? All the services, just the exposed entities of these services. And you can maybe click on one of these and then show everything. And here the signature is different, right? Because depending on what your service definition was, it could be completely different. It does denormalization, all the usual things, excluding entity fields. And now you get that data. And you familiar users of the bookshop will know that 11% discount, and that basically comes from a service handler that has computed that text, right? So that mode basically ran your whole service handler code, which is the basic difference between database introspection and the service surface, so to say, right? So that gives you the possibility to also look at the data as it's coming through, as it would come through your service surface. You might now ask, hey, don't we have like database tools for that? Why can't I use whatever, SQLite Explorer, HANA, Cockpit, whatever? Well, yes, you could, but it's a whole different persona that we are now seeing here. This is the SaaS user who could use that tool. SaaS power user, admin, maybe, whatever. Database tools are for developers. Whole different like entry, the platform access you need to have, the credentials for these tools, right? So that's like a very different audience that we're targeting. Also, in that example here, well, imagine how you would connect a SQLite tool to here. This is in a memory database. There is nothing that such a tool could connect to because the data only lives over here, right? It's not visible in your IDE, no chance. The only thing you could do is using CDS REPL, right? That would be like in connecting to the application. That would be the only thing. But apart from that, that tool here comes to the rescue. The other nice thing, it is database agnostic, right? It doesn't care about is it a SQLite connection, is it a Postgres, is it HANA, because it just uses the database connection of your application. And it's multi-tenancy enabled. Yeah, it runs full in the tenant context of the application. That's why whoever logs into whichever tenant, it will just work, right? So a nice little tool that helps you basically troubleshoot your application, introspect your application, fix maybe, so we can also build that out to maybe change data, yeah. So that's all possible. The colleagues have spent quite an effort to, yeah, you can see it, to also describe how you would deploy that to B2P, right? Again, how to use the portal service, the build works on, right? Because it comes with its own UI. That UI needs to be deployed. The other thing that it does, it connects to the audit logging, for instance. So if you have marked any of your fields as sensitive, personal sensitive information, that will write an audit log in case someone used the tool to look at that data, right? You probably want to know that in production application. So that's already integrated. And also, of course, authorization is an issue. So there's a dedicated scope necessary for the tool to be operated, because otherwise every SaaS user could use it. And that's probably not what you want. So it's also there. So quite a nifty tool, I think, easy to integrate. Give it a try in case you have the need. All right, that's Database Inspector. Now coming to the final block, which is, yeah, another Explorer thing. Let me switch over to the Xtravels application. One thing that we are also quite proud of that got added recently is that little, you might see that little icon that's quite new here in the sidebar, which is called Project Explorer. And what that tool gives you is another introspection facility, but that, in that case, for developers into the CDS model. You might ask, hey, we have the File Explorer here. How hard can it be? Isn't that good enough to just like see the files? Well, it turns out, let me show it to you. If I expand the services folder here, you see quite a bunch of services. You're maybe not even familiar with all of them, but they're all running or might run. First and foremost is the travel service that we've just seen also before. That's your main, let's say, outbound service. And the yellowish ones are the ones consumed, especially the business partner thing that got imported. In a path you might even not know because it's some reuse module. The flight service, also there you see the path here is quite a different folder, but somehow it got into your application. That's probably of interest. The other log service, UCL service, you can just forget about it. It's like a technical thing that we will suppress in the future, but they're also there. So CAP basically is also partially implemented with CDS services. And now expanding to the travel service. That +1 means, okay, there's a definition, but there's at least one more extension to it, somewhere in your application, in some files that you might not be aware of. It lists all the function actions, clicking on one of them, and immediately you see, okay, that's somewhere different. It's in a different file. It's in the export CDS file, right? So it doesn't extend travel service. It's not in here. You won't find them. Yeah. So you basically would need to grab through your code base if you happen to know the name. Otherwise, that tool is a helper here because it finds these other artifacts, so to say. In that case, it's functions, actions. We do also sort along like value helps. So that's basically code lists. So these are code list thingies, right? You probably are aware of that. We also show you auto exposed things. So things that if I click here that do not lead you to anywhere, because they automatically come through the service, through some of the other entities here. Some of the other entities point to bookings, and that's why bookings becomes part of your service. It's maybe an interesting fact to know, right? You maybe want to cut it off or not, right? But at least it's good to know that they get accessible through your service interface. Same for the other ones. So auto-expose things. Then we have files. That is the first time ever that one tool shows you all the files that contribute to your service. However, they are scattered across your project layout structure. And again, don't think only like your application folder. There could be reuse modules. There could be plugins, right, that you might have installed and not even aware of that might contribute to your service, or base entities of your service. For instance, we have here whatever label annotations. They're usually annotations. Yeah, in the app folder, it's annotations, capabilities, field control, layouts. So you see, we have, like with the separation of concerns, we have gone a great deal, but that comes to a price that it's scattered, and now the tool brings it together. Right? So that's the whole idea. Access controls, constraints, and exporting things, flow control, that's the actual service definition. And there's even the service implementation here, shown here for the, I think for the first time. It was accessible for quite a while. I'm not sure if anyone knows how to go to that, go to implementation. It was there before, but only there. And now we make it available here more prominently. This is also working okay-ish for Java. So it will also list your Java implementation files to the extent that we get it, right? It's not perfect. There's probably more fanciness needed to get that even more better. But anyways, at least the first level of service implementation we can show here. And there's even some examples, things that are listed, right? And so that's the file information. That we have like all the entities again. +1 again means, okay, there's more. There's an extension contributing to that base definition. It's probably coming then from the actions. Clicking through the actions, and yeah, indeed, we got to the flow previous file, which doesn't extend travels with actions, and this is how block travel becomes part of your entity, right? So it's sometimes surprising what you see there. All right, so that's all the service. That was all just part of the travel service. Then we have like the rest of the entities, so to say, not exposed through services, which are the domain models. You see the various aspects used. Again, you see value helps used again with the information, whether they are extended. Yeah, also interesting information like code comes from the very definition, but region comes from the extended common countries somewhere else, right? I find that sometimes worthwhile noting. And yeah, we have types, and then there is the other entities. Also listed here, right? So these are just like from the definition, but here bookings is for whatever reason done through an extend flights, yeah, with columns. So quite fancy. That's it. So this is like how all of that comes together. And one more thing that we have there is down here, the project information. I'm collapsing that. We show you all the configuration files now all of a sudden. Not only the ones from your application, like CDSRJ.json, package.json, whatever, but also like all the defaults from all the plugins and even CDS that contribute to the project configuration. And you see it's quite scattered. Node modules like CapIS4, and there's some Fiori plugin, and the data inspector also adds its things, etc. Right? And down there it's the CDS defaults, so the core defaults, so to say. So that's the sum of the information that was also accessible through the CLI, CDSN sources. That's basically the information that we get it from, but now it's just visualized. And I find that quite useful to know. All right, you can basically also search for it, right? You can do whatever. I know there is a whatever status, or I can even say entity status, like filter down to entities, right? Just take note of the help text. It gives you some glimpse on what you can basically do with that. Yeah, it's quite a nifty thing already. That was also kind of available, is available through the global workspace symbol thingy, but now it's just integrated also in the Explorer here. All right, that is basically Project Explorer, if I haven't forgotten anything. And the last little thing, and Daniel pointed to me to that before the session, was that one thing that we are at the moment working on, and I just want to give you a little, very, very little preview of it. Let's go to the service.js file. We are starting adding tool support for the tag template syntax for queries. think it should be there. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. So that's a traditional syntax, right? It also uses some of tag templates, like here, right? But then it uses what we call the fluent syntax again. So it's a mixture of both. What we actually want to get to is complete tag templates, yeah, including the interpolation with JavaScript properties, because it just allows us to do things a bit more efficiently under the hoods. We can cache it, we can do prepared statements, whatever. That isn't possible with the fluent syntax for technical reasons. And but what we missed so far was the syntax highlighting. And you're not sure if you have seen that. We can already highlight syntax in that what actually is a string to JavaScript. These things here we get for free from the engine. And the next thing that we're working on is like code completion here. And then if we have that, diagnostics and type checking, so that the end goal would be that you hover over status, you get the correct type. So that is something that we're working on. It's quite a nifty thing, but we're still confident we get it working. All right, that was basically it for my program. Let me check that. Yeah, it was. So without any further ado, that was it. Hope you liked it and enjoy reCAP.